Welcome students. In today's session, we will try to understand the two-dimensional arrays and even three-dimensional arrays. The two-dimensional arrays can be declared in the same method how we declare a single-dimensional array. For an example, if I want to declare a two-dimensional array of integer data type, then the data type I have to specify, then within the pair of bracket, and I want to mention it to be a two-dimension, then I will type it as a comma here. So when I type a comma, compiler understand that this is going to be a two-dimensional array, followed by name of the array. In this case, say 2d, okay, equals to new int. Within the pair of brackets, I need to provide the size here. Okay, size in the sense, since it is going to be a two-dimensional array, number of rows, comma, number of columns, 2, 3 in this case. So now declaring an array, okay, the pair of square bracket indicates it is going to be an array, and the dimensions will be identified by the number of commas written within the brackets. If there is a single comma, if there is a one comma, that indicates this is going to be a two-dimensional. Okay, how we can understand? Comma means there is going to be a two values. One comma means two values, one the left side and one the right side. Then followed by name of the array equals to the new. That new will indicate that keyword indicates that allocate the memory for integers data type, and again within the pair of brackets I need to specify the size of the array. The two indicates, the first number indicates number of rows and the 3 indicates number of columns. Okay, this number of rows and columns are just for our reference. Now suppose if I wish to initialize at the same moment, okay, what I can do is that within the pair of bracket I can specify the elements, the array elements here. Since it is going to be a two-dimensional array, say 2 rows of information, and each rows I need to provide 3 numbers. So that can be written as this. Okay, now if you look at this particular pair of brackets, what I have written, this is the starting bracket, this is the ending bracket, and within that this is the first set of row and this is second set of rows. For the first set of rows, say I say 1, 2, 3. Since 3 columns, so 1, 2, 3, and then second one say 4, 5, 6. Okay, first row contains 3 columns 1, 2, 3. Second row contains 3 columns 1, 2, 3. If this type of notation is confusing, how we can write is that in a simple another method in this way. That's just exactly the way how the matrix we represent. Okay, now 2 rows and 3 columns. You may see 2 rows, okay, first row and second row, and the 3 columns. 1, 4 is the first column, 2, 5 is the second column, and 3, 6 is the third column. This is the way how we initialize the two-dimensional array. Now there is another method, okay, int, say int 2 dimension specified by a comma, say 2d, I will name it as a 2. Another second example, new int, okay, within the pair of brackets, okay, then say in this example 10, 20, 30, close the first row element, then in the second row element say 40, 50, 60, close both the brackets and semicolon. Now the difference between these two notation is that in the first notation I have specified explicitly the number of rows and number of columns, 2 rows and 3 columns. In the second example, at the time of defining, at the time of memory allocation, I have not specified any numbers for the rows and columns. Okay. With the empty brackets, I have gone ahead and initialized the array elements. So the compiler will try to understand that based upon the number of elements written over here, number of elements initialized, based upon that the array size is going to be determined. Okay, the number of brackets, the pair of brackets here, now you see that this is the high level, that is on the top level, and then within that we have another pair of brackets, first pair and the second pair. The first pair, second pair indicates the first row and second row. So it will assume that the number of rows are 2, and in each of the pairs I have how many exactly? 3 elements, means 3 columns. Both are the same notations, or the different notations, but does the same method, same job. Okay, now you may think that if you may try to understand, if I want an array of 3 dimension, then how I am going to do it? So it will be in the same method, that is, say int. Since 3 dimension I want, so I will specify 2 commas and then 3d is the name of the array here. New. Okay. Now let us not mention implicitly the number of rows and the columns of each of the 3-dimensional array here. So I will just put it as an empty brackets. Now let us try to understand how I am going to write this particular array element, or the initialize the array elements for the 3-dimensional array. Now first thing, we need to understand the basic definitions of array. If we know, then it is going to be easy for us. Say for a single dimensional array, say int, okay, then 1d equals to new int, okay, then let's say 1 2 3 4. Okay. Now array, basic definition of array is what? Array is a collection of homogeneous element, right, the contiguously which are going to be stored in the memory. So now here in the case of one dimensional, that is line number 7, if you notice here, now how many elements we have? We have 4 elements. So the 4 memory location of the integer contiguously will be allocated and will be called by the same name, ONED, it is 1D. Okay, then so 2-dimensional of array means what? 2-dimensional array is nothing but it is an array of 1-dimensional array. Can we call like that? Yes, we can. Okay, suppose if I write like this here, let us take out all these empty spaces. Okay, now what I can say is that 2-dimensional array is what? It is array of 1-dimensional array. Each member of 2-dimensional array, say this is first starting pair bracket and this is the starting flower bracket and this is the ending flower bracket. Between this, what I have one set of values and the second set of values, right? The first set of values is what? Is nothing but it is an single dimensional array here. 1, 2, 3. It is a single dimensional array. Then comma, then I have again another set of single dimensional array here. So I can say that 2-dimensional array is nothing but it is an array of 1-dimensional elements or 1-dimensional array. In the same way, if we go further with the 3-dimensional arrays, can I say 3-dimensional array as an array of 2-dimensional? Yes, obviously 3-dimensional array is nothing but it is an array and each array members are what? Each array elements are what? 2-dimensional arrays. Now, for example, here I'm going to write 2-dimensional arrays here. Say this is the first, okay, 1 second. Now, this will contain 3-dimensional array members, correct? So what I said, 3-dimensional array is nothing but it is a collection of 2-dimensional array. So 2-dimensional array means what? Like this, it should be like this, right? That means within a bracket, I need to provide 2-dimensional arrays. This is first, say this is second. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is my first element. This is going to be my first element in 3-dimensional array. Now, if you closely look at this, this is nothing but a two-dimensional array, right? Inside that, if you look into the only this element, it is a one-dimensional array, right? Inside that you have each of the elements. Now, the second element could be what? Second element after this bracket, second element will be there. Okay, within this, I will be having a set of again two more brackets. Now here, let me change the numbers for easy understanding. Let me make it as a 4, 5, and 6. And here it is going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12. Right? Now, this is another element of the three-dimensional array. Another element in the sense, this is nothing but a two-dimensional array here. Okay. Now, there are few methods. Okay. First method is if I want to know the length of a particular array, then I can make use of a method. Okay. By the name array name dot length, and the second one is the rank of the array. Rank of the array will provide us the number of dimensions of that particular array. Let us see for an example. Okay, write, sorry, console dot write line. Okay, now length of one dimensional array equals to, within the placeholder 0, I'm going to get the length of first one dimension. So that one dimensional array here is 1D. So 1D dot length. So this is going to give me the length of one dimensional array. In the same way, I can do for the two-dimensional array. Let me do a copy paste of the statements, and here I'm going to change it to be a, say this is 2 dimension and this is 3 dimension. Okay, and here it is going to be 2 and 3. Okay. Now, if I run this particular program, let me check whether the object is set. Yes, it is set to 2 dimensional array. Length of one dimensional array is 4, 2 dimensional array is 6, and the length of 3 dimensional array is 12, which is, if you try to verify with respect to the code, the one dimensional we have 4 elements, the two dimensional we have 2 into 3, that is 6 elements, and in the third case, that is in the 3 dimensional array, we have exactly 12 elements. Okay. Now let us try to get the number of ranks, that is number of dimensions, using the property called as Array.Rank. Console dot write line, say rank of 1D array is equals to 1D dot rank. Okay, 1D dot rank. So this rank will give us the number of dimensions. It is a property that the 1D arrays property will be retrieved. That is, the rank property will be retrieved. Okay, as we know that one dimensional array, that 1D, the rank is going to be 1, as it is an one dimensional array. The same way I can set it for the other also. Let me copy this one. Okay, let me copy this particular statement, and rank of 2D, and this is 3D. So it is going to be 2 and 3 here. So when I run this particular program, I'm going to get the output for this line as 1, as it is a one dimensional, for this as 2 as the dimensions are equal to 2, and for the third one the 3-dimensional, the rank is going to be 3 as it is a 3-dimensional array. See, rank of 1D is 1, rank of 2 is 2, and rank of 3D is 3. Okay, so I hope this is a very simple concept, students. So I did not go in detail. Let us see certain programs for the 2-dimensional array. Okay, the best example is the matrices. Let us try to write a program wherein we will read the elements of 2 matrices, and then we will try to calculate the sum of the matrices. Okay, yes. Okay, I think the program is here. I will just remove off all the lines from here, then write it. Okay, so program to add 2 matrices. To matrix means what? We should be using 2-dimensional array here. Okay, so using system class matrices, public static void main, M is capital, and in the main method we are going to write our code section. Okay, as you know, we will be requiring certain variables for the looping purpose. Since in the 2-dimensional array we need 2 loops, one outer loop and one inner loop. Outer loop is used for the number of rows, and the inner loop is going to be used for the number of columns each rows. Okay, so int, since there are 2 matrices, so I will choose it to be a R1 row 1 and then C1 column 1. So this R1 and C1 are going to be the row and column values for the first matrix. Okay, the same way for the second matrix it is going to be R2 and C2. Okay, then now I would be interested in looping through the for loops. So for that, I and J. Okay, then, so based upon this R1, C1, R2 and C2, I will be creating the matrix later. So let us go ahead and display a statement to the user to read the number of rows and number of columns for each of the matrix. So console dot write line. Okay, so let us read the values for first matrix. So let me say input matrix 1. Matrix 1. Okay, then console write line. Let us use write method here instead of write line. Write method. Say number of rows equals to, okay, then I need to retrieve that and store it in the variable R1. So R1 is going to be int dot parse, okay, console dot read line. Okay, as you know, the console write read line will return a string value. Since we are interested in a integer, we will be converting into an int using int dot parse method. Okay, in the same way I will be writing the code for the columns as well. So it is going to be console dot write number of columns equals to read the number of columns and store it in C1 variable. So these lines will help me in retrieving the values for number of rows, number of columns. Usually we say it as a order of a given matrix. So let me copy the lines and repeat it for the matrix 2. So the input matrix 2, number of rows, and we will store it in R2. Similarly, number of columns we will store it in C2. Okay. Now, based upon this particular values, these values R1, C1, R2, C2, we are going to create the matrix. Now, as we know, the matrix addition or the matrix, that is matrix addition and deletion, that is the matrix addition and matrix subtraction can be only done whenever the order of the matrix are identical. So what do we mean by order of the matrix? For an example, if there is a matrix A and the order of the matrix, if I say it is 2, 3, okay, 2 means number of rows and 3 is number of columns. And if I have another matrix B and whose number of columns are 2, sorry, number of rows are 2 and number of columns are 3, then only I can perform the addition of these two, A plus B can be done. Okay, if the number of rows and number of columns are mismatching, that means, say if the B matrix number of rows are 3, then I cannot perform addition. That is not possible. So first what we need to do is that we need to validate whether the number of rows of first matrix is equals to second matrix and number of columns of first matrix is equals to number of columns of the second matrix. Okay, then only we will proceed further. So simple if condition we will put here. If R1 is equals to R2, number of rows of first matrix is equals to number of rows of second matrix, and C1 equals to C2. So validate whether those two matrices are of the same order, then only you proceed further. If not, what has to be done? Display a message stating that addition is not possible. So console dot write line addition is not possible as order of both the matrices are incorrect. Okay, yes. Now assuming that if they are correct, means both are identical, R1 is equals to R2 and C1 is equals to C2, then we will go ahead and create the memory for both the matrices. Okay, say int M1, I need an two-dimensional array, M1, okay, equals to new int of what size? R1 comma C1, right? So I need to create an array, two-dimensional array for matrix 1 of the integer data type. So int two-dimensional array, within the pair of square brackets a single comma indicates two-dimensional array. Name of the array M1 equals to new int, and the size is going to be the number of rows of the first matrix and number of columns of the first matrix, that is R1 comma C1. In the same way, for the second matrix, int two-dimensional array M2 equals to new int, okay, this time it is going to be R2 comma C2, okay, semicolon. So both the matrices are created, and even we need to create one more matrix to store the sum of the both the matrices. So it is going to be int, say two-dimensional, I will call it to be a sum equals to new int. Okay, this time you may ask what is the number of rows and number of columns. We may choose R1 C1 or R2 C2 because both are going to be a same values. So I will choose it to be a R1 and C1. Okay, so all the three matrices are created and allocated the memory. So now next we will go ahead and try to read the values for each of the matrices and then calculate the sum. So we will display a message saying console dot write line, okay, enter the, say I will give it in a placeholder, enter the say 6 elements of matrix 1. Okay, so here since I have provided the placeholder, I will write it to be a R1 into C1. Okay, R1 into C1. For I equals to 0, I less than R1, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j less than the number of columns, that is C1, j plus plus. what I need to do? I need to read the values for each of the matrix elements and I store it into a respective matrix. Say M1 of I comma j equals to, okay, since I will be retrieving a string value and I need to convert into an integer, int dot parse console dot read line. Okay. So now let us try to understand these three lines. Okay, you might be knowing, but I will just try to trace it within with a single example. Assume that, okay, assume that R1 value is R1 is 2 and C1 is 3, means two rows and 3 columns. So initially I is 0 and is 0 less than 2, yes, 0 less than 2 is true, then it will enter into the for loop. The second for loop, in that is we call it as an inner for loop, j is equals to 0 and j less than c1. So j is what? 0 and the c1 value is 3. So 0 less than 3. Yes, condition is again true. So since condition is true, it will enter into the its for loop and the statement is m of I comma j. I is 0, j is 0, right? So in the first iteration, I is 0 and j is 0, right? So for this value, I'm going to read the value from the keyboard that will be stored into this particular location or the element m of 0, 0. Okay, m of 0, 0 is going to be the first element in the matrix. Next, j will get incremented. Now j becomes 1. J becomes 1. So is 1 less than or equal to, sorry, less than C3, that is 3? Yes, 1 less than 3 is true. Again, it will get inside the for loop. So m of, this time it is 0 and 1. 0 and 1. So the first row, second column. Okay, like this, it will keep on incrementing until this condition becomes false. So usually we say that the outer for loop is for the number of rows and inner for loop is for the number of columns. Okay. Similarly, I can write the statement for the second matrix in order to read the values. So I will go ahead and write it. Okay. Now I'll change it to be a matrix 2 and change the variable names, even though in this case it doesn't matter, but let me change it. Okay. Now for I1, a equal to 0, I less than R2, I plus plus, j equal to 0, j less than C2, j plus plus. Okay, read the value for matrix 2, that is M2. Okay, now let us be a smart here. When we read the elements of the second matrix, let us try to calculate the sum. Okay, in order to calculate the sum, what I will be doing is that I will be writing the brackets here, and within this pair of brackets, I will read the value of the second matrix and at the same time I will calculate the sum also. So sum of I comma j is going to be, yes, m1 of I comma j plus m2 of I comma j. As we know that this both matrices, that is M1 and M2, number of rows and number of columns are same. Okay, so while reading the values for the second matrix, so first step is I will read the matrix element and I will add those particular both the matrices M1 and M2 and store it in the sum. So what I will achieve here is that I no need to write the another set of pair of for loops here. If I don't do this one sum operation, then I may end up in writing another pair of for loop, then another pair of for loop, and then write the addition of that one. Just we will try to avoid that writing the codes here. So once the sum is calculated, I want to display it. For displaying, again, it is going to be the same case. I will just copy it and I will mention here that sum of matrices is equals to, okay, number of rows, number of columns, and I would be interested in displaying it, right? So let me remove this particular part. Okay, so make it to be a console dot write method. I will use the write method here, and within the pair of brackets, first I will display a slash t. Slash t means a tab width, followed by the first placeholder, that is 0 placeholder, and here I will write sum of I comma j. Okay, now after the first for loop, I will be writing one more statement here in order to look the output in the format of a matrix. Okay, so I will display as empty line console dot write line. I hope student you understand why we are writing empty lines like this write line, just to print a single line after printing each of the row elements. After one row is completed, this statement will be executed. It will print one line. So the next content or the next element will be printed on the second line onwards. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and run the program. Once again, I need to change the object, make it to be a matrices, save, come back to the matrices program, then run it. Okay, input matrix 1, number of rows say 2 and number of columns is 3. Input matrix 2, so this time let me choose the number of rows are going to be 3 and the columns are 3. So what will happen here, R1 is 2 and R2 is 3, these both rows are mismatching, then addition is not possible. Okay, so addition is not possible as order of both the matrices are incorrect. That is correct as expected, right? Now let us run the another time by entering the correct number of rows and columns. So number of rows is 2, number of columns for the first matrix is 3. Input matrix 2, number of rows is 2, number of columns is again 2. Enter the 6 elements of matrix 1, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Enter the 6 elements of matrix 2. For the safer, easier calculation, I will enter the elements in a reverse order as of the first element 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And sum of matrices is going to be 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Right? Students, if you are not able to follow if you're not able to trace these particular lines of code, please do let me know. Okay, if there are any difficulties in the next class, I will be tracing this particular program. Okay, if you are not able to do, I pre-assume that you know the looping structures, that is for looping structures, especially for the matrices. If not, please don't hesitate to ask me. In the next class, I will trace it and then we will proceed further with the next concepts. Okay. As I told earlier, students, please do practice the programs. You take up the programs from your first semester or the third semester, the Java or a C program, and the simple programs of those you try to convert it into a C# programs. That is the best way to do the practicing. Okay, so the array programs, programs such as factorial, simple for looping, Fibonacci numbers. Okay, all these programs you may practice, and in the next class I will provide you certain assignments. Okay, those assignments you try to complete it. Thank you, students.